This video is showing examples 3 and 4 in the lesson. Example 3, in order to solve this using row operations, the first thing we're going to do is put this into a matrix, an augmented matrix. So we take our coefficients and our constants, and that's our augmented matrix. So remember that our goals are to have this part of it, we want that to look like the identity matrix. So we want that part to say 1, 0, 0, 1 when we're all done. The ones are golden. That's what we want to get. So, or not the ones, sorry, the zeros. So we really want to make that be a 0 and that be a 0. As far as ones go, like we can get that by just dividing by something. So that's not as big of a deal. So the first thing let's do is let's try to get this one to be a 0. So what I could do, I notice if I add these two together, I'm going to get 0. So I'm going to write that I'm going to add row 1 plus row 2. I know I'm going to get 0, and I want to put that into row 1 because I want my 0 to be in that position. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to say 1 plus 2 is 3, 1 plus negative 1 is 0, 4 plus 8 is 12. And then I didn't do anything with row 2, so I'm just going to write that down there again. So I already have part of what I need. I have the 0 where I want it. Now I also want to have a 0 right there. So think about what I could do. If that 1 was a negative 3, then I could add those two together and get 0. So let's make that a negative 3. So I'm going to take negative 3 times row 2. And I'm going to keep my answer in row 2. So I'm going to rewrite the first row. I'm not doing anything to that right now. I'm going to multiply everything on the bottom by negative 3. Okay, now I'm going to add row 1 and row 2. So I'm going to say row 1 plus row 2, but this time I'm going to put it in row 2 because I want my 0 to be in that position right there. So that means that I'm really not going to change anything in row 1. So I'm going to write that. Now I'm going to add them together. So I'm going to get 0, negative 3, 0. Okay, so if I look at my positions here, I've got 3, 0, 0, negative 3, so I almost have what I need. So I just need ones to be there. So ones are easy to get because all I have to do is take row 1 and divide by 3, and I'm going to have a 1 in that spot. And I'll take row 2 and divide by negative 3. So when I do that, I'm going to have 1, 0, 4, and 0, because 0 divided by negative 3 is 0, and then 1, and then 0 again. So this part of my augmented matrix, that's the part that I want, and so I'm ready to say what my solutions are. So this being my x and this being my y, I'm going to say x is equal to 4, y is equal to 0. So the ordered pairs, if I was going to graph these two lines, then they would intersect, their solution would be at the point 4, 0. Now I can take that and check, and especially because we're new doing this, we probably ought to check and make sure that we're doing this right. So I'm going to take the 4 and the 0, and I'm going to plug it in for the x and the y. And it has to work in both equations because we're saying that it's a solution. So 2 times x minus y equals 8, that's true. And then x plus y equals 4, that's true. So I know that my solution for 0 is correct, and that's using row operations. Okay, we're going to do one more example together. And so again, you're going to start your augmented matrix. So if you want to stop and pause the video and see what you can do, you can see if you can get there as well. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then we can just do this last one together. So I'm going to write my augmented matrix. Okay, and then I remember what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get a 1, 0, 0, 1. So I think that getting a 0 in this position right there, that's going to be the easiest thing. I'm going to do that first because if I add those two together, that's what I'll get. So I'm going to take row 1 plus row 2, and I'm going to put my answer in row 1 because that's where I want my 0 to be. So I'm not doing anything to row 2. I'm leaving it the same, so I'm just going to rewrite it. But I'm going to do negative 4 plus 3, negative 2 plus 2, 12, and negative 12. Okay, now I'm going to go and try and get a 0 right there. So I think about what could happen. If this was a positive 4, then I could add it and that would happen. So let's make that a positive 4. So if I multiply by negative 4, then that will be a positive 4. So I'm going to take negative 4 times row 1, and let's just do that for now. For the first step, we're going to have negative 4 times negative 1, negative 4 times 0, negative 4 times 0. I did not do anything to the second row. Okay, now I'm going to add row 1 plus row 2, and I'm going to put my answer in row 2. I'm not going to change row 1 at all. I'm just using it to get my answer. So I'm going to say 4 and negative 4, 0 and negative 2, 0 and 12. And so now I'm down to the point where I only need ones right there and right there. So do you remember what to do? We can take row 1 and divide by 4, and we can take row 2 and divide by negative 2. So when I do that, the top row divided by 4 is going to be 1, 0, and 0. The bottom row divided by negative 2 will be 0, 1, and negative 6. So that means my solutions are x equals 0, y equals negative 6. My ordered pair is 0, negative 6, which means that if I plug it back in up here, it has to work in both equations. So 3 times 0 plus 2 times negative 6, that's going to be 0 plus negative 12 equals negative 12. That works. Negative 4 times 0 minus 2 times negative 6, that's 0 plus 12 equals 12. That works. So I know that my answer is correct. Okay, you should be ready to try the practice on your own.